The academy was on a giant space station floating between worlds. Here, students from many different planets came to learn about the universe. One classroom was full of young aliens, all shapes and sizes, sitting at their desks. The teacher, Mr. Dallin, was tall and had blue skin. He liked to make the lessons exciting, so he always started with a question. "Who can tell me what a Deathworld monster is?" he asked, looking around the room. Hands went up. A tiny girl with green hair waved her hand wildly. "They are the most dangerous animals in the galaxy. They eat anything, even metal sometimes," Mr. Dallin nodded. "That is right, Mia. Deathworld monsters are creatures from planets so dangerous, even the strongest hunters are careful. But do you know which planet has the most dangerous monsters of all?" Now the class got quiet. They looked at each other. Some whispered names of strange planets. Then Mr. Dallin smiled and pressed a button on the wall. The screen showed a picture of a blue and green world. "Earth," he said. "Earth is called a death world. Many say it is the scariest of all. The monsters there are small and big. Some bite, some chase, some hide until you are very close." In the back of the classroom, Ben sat quietly. He had brown hair and soft eyes. He did not talk much, but he always listened. Next to him sat Lara, who had smooth purple skin and 4 fingers on each hand. Lyra was friendly and liked to ask questions, even if others thought they were silly. Ben's hands rested on the desk. He looked calm, but he watched everyone carefully. Lyra leaned over and whispered, "Do you really think Earth is that dangerous?" Ben just smiled a little and shrugged. "It can be." Mr. Dallin started the lesson. He told stories about creatures called wolves that hunted in packs and big bears that could climb trees and swim in rivers. There were even tiny things called spiders that made traps to catch their food. The class gasped and laughed. One student, Nash, rolled his eyes. "I bet Earth is not so bad. I think people just make it up to sound cool." Lyra watched Ben as he listened to every word. She thought Ben was different from the others. He never bragged or tried to get attention. Sometimes he looked sad when the teacher talked about Earth. Nobody else in the class was human. Lyra wondered if Ben missed his. Home. The lesson went on. Mr. Dallin showed pictures of animals from Earth, some with sharp teeth, others with bright colors that warned you to stay away. He talked about how some Earth monsters could hide in water, climb mountains, or fly. "These creatures are not evil," he said. "They are just trying to survive. On Earth, you have to be smart and strong." The students talked quietly with each other. Some sounded scared, others tried to act brave. A tall boy named Kyle said, "I think I could fight one of those Earth monsters." Mia shook her head. "You would run away like everyone else." The class laughed. Mr. Dallin let them talk for a moment, then clapped his hands. "Today, you will work in groups. I want you to imagine you have landed on Earth. What would you do if you met a Deathworld monster? How would you escape? How would you protect your friends?" Ben looked at Lyra. She smiled. "Maybe we could work together," she said. Ben nodded. "Sure." The students began to talk about their ideas. Some said they would build walls or hide in caves. Others wanted to run fast or fly away. Lyra wrote down their ideas and looked at Ben. "What would you do?" Ben thought for a moment. "I would stay calm, listen for sounds, find a good place to hide. Sometimes it is better not to run." Lyra's eyes grew wide. "How do you know so much?" Ben shrugged again. "Just something I learned." The class finished their group work and shared their ideas. Some groups had funny plans, like dressing up as trees or pretending to be rocks. Others wanted to use clever tricks, like leaving a trail of food to lead the monster away. Mr. Dallin said, "These are good ideas. On a death world, you need to use your mind as much as your strength." The lesson ended and the bell rang. Students grabbed their bags and hurried out the door. Ben stood up slowly. Lyra walked beside him. "Do you ever get scared?" she asked softly. Ben smiled a little. "Everyone gets scared sometimes, but it's what you do next that matters." As they left the classroom, some students teased Ben. "Hey, Deathworld boy, do you sleep with one eye open?" Ben did not answer. He just kept walking, calm and quiet. Lyra watched him, thinking he was the most interesting person she had ever met. Nobody in the class knew that a real Deathworld monster had been hiding in the room all along. It just looked like a quiet human boy named Ben. The next morning, the academy felt different. The lessons about Earth monsters stayed in everyone's mind. As Ben walked into the classroom, he noticed some students looking at him and whispering to each other. Ben did not mind. He took his seat in the back next to Lyra. She smiled at him. "Ready for another day?" Ben nodded. "Always." Mr. Dallin entered the room carrying a big box. He set it down and called for attention. "Today we will talk more about Deathworld monsters. We will also learn how these creatures survive. Earth monsters have special ways to protect themselves. Some use claws or teeth, some are clever. Some even work together in groups to stay alive." He opened the box and pulled out little models of animals. There were wolves, bears, snakes, and even a spider with long, thin legs. The students gathered around, curious. "These are all from Earth," Mr. Dallin explained. "Each has its own way to survive. Wolves hunt in packs and look after each other. Bears are strong and can scare away danger. Snakes hide and strike when no one expects it. Spiders build traps with their webs." "What do you notice about these Earth monsters?" Kyle said. "They all look scary." Mia shivered and said, "The spider is the worst." Mr. Dallin smiled. "They can be scary, yes, but look closer. What else do you see?" Lyra leaned in and said, "They all know how to survive. They use what they have." "Very good," said Mr. Dallin. "Earth monsters survive not just because they are strong, but because they are smart and careful. They have learned to live in places that are cold, hot, wet, or dry. They never give up, no matter how hard things get." Ben listened closely. He remembered his own days on Earth, learning to be careful in forests and to watch for danger everywhere. He watched as some students joked about how easy it would be to escape from an Earth monster. One said, "I would just fly away if I saw one." Another said, "I would build a wall so high nothing could climb it." Ben looked at Lara and said quietly, "Walls don't always help. Sometimes you have to move and think fast." Lyra asked, "Is it true you lived on Earth?" Ben nodded. For a while, she wanted to ask more, but Mr. Dallin called everyone back to their seats. "Now we will hear stories from the holoscreen," he said. The screen lit up with images of explorers on Earth. One explorer ran from a charging bear, another jumped into a river to escape a pack of wolves, and another climbed a tree to get away from wild BOARS. The class watched closely. Some were amazed, some afraid. Nash said, "Why do people even live?" "There," Mr. Dallin said, "people from Earth are tough. They learn to face danger. That is why many call them Deathworlders. They become strong because they have to." Kyle asked, "Have any humans ever been in this academy?" The class got quiet. Lyra glanced at Ben, but did not say anything. Mr. Dallin hesitated. "Humans have come here before, but not often. It is hard to leave a world like Earth and live in space. Humans who do that are brave and clever. They bring their own skills and ideas." The screen showed a famous picture of a human family standing beside a river on Earth. The parents looked strong and the children smiled, holding hands. The teacher pointed at the picture. "What do you think it takes to survive on Earth?" Students gave different answers. "Be strong, run fast, work with others, use your brain," they said. Mr. Dallin nodded at each answer. "All these things help, but the biggest help is never giving up. Earth monsters and Earth people always find a way to keep going." Ben stared at the picture, thinking about his family and the times they had to hide from storms or wild animals. Lyra watched him. She wanted to ask about his life, but something told her it was not the right time. At lunch, the students sat in the big cafeteria. The room was full of voices, different foods, and laughter. Ben and Lyra took their trays and found a quiet table. Lyra poked at her food and asked, "Do you ever miss Earth?" Ben thought for a moment. "Sometimes. There were scary things, but also good things. The trees, the rivers, the sky at night. It was not all bad, Lyra smiled. I think I would like to see it, even with the monsters. Ben grinned. Maybe one day. Just then, Nash and Kyle sat down across from them. Kyle leaned forward and said, Do you really come from Earth, Ben? Is it true? Ben nodded. Yes. Nash asked, Did you ever see a monster? Ben said, Yes, more than once. They both looked impressed but tried not to show it. Were you scared? Asked Kyle. Ben looked down. Of course, but my parents taught me what to do. You learn to stay calm and use your head. Panic makes things worse. The other boys thought about this for a moment. Then Nash said, Maybe you could show us some tricks one day. Ben nodded. Maybe. After lunch, the students returned to class. Mr. Dallin said, Today we will work on survival games. You will have to solve problems like people do on Earth. You might have to escape from danger, find food, or help a friend who is hurt. The class split into teams. Ben and Lyra were together. They were given a puzzle. You are trapped in a forest with a wild animal nearby. You have a rope, a stick, and some water. What do you do? Lyra thought hard. Maybe we could use the rope to climb a tree. Ben said, That could work if the animal cannot climb. Or we could use the stick to make noise and scare it away. The other teams had their own puzzles. Some tried to build shelters, others tried to find ways to cross rivers. The classroom buzzed with ideas and laughter. Mr. Dallin walked around, listening and giving hints. When he got to Ben and Lyra's table, he smiled. Very clever. Sometimes the simplest ideas work best. When the games were finished, Mr. Dallin asked the class, What did you learn today? Mia said that you can use anything around you to help. Kyle said that working together is better than being alone. Ben added quietly that you should never give up, even when things are scary. Mr. Dallin smiled at him. Well said, Ben. The day ended and the students went home. Lyra stayed behind and walked with Ben down the hall. I think you would have survived on Earth even if you weren't human, she said. Ben smiled. Maybe. You would too. As they walked, Ben heard some students still talking about Deathworld monsters. Some were still scared, others curious. Nobody knew that the boy walking quietly beside them was the one with the most to teach about monsters and survival. Outside the academy window, stars shone bright, and the space station drifted on. Soon everyone would learn that sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one with the biggest secrets. The next day, the academy halls felt busy and restless. Students filled the classrooms, talking about the lesson from yesterday. The stories of Earth monsters stayed in everyone's thoughts. Ben walked to class with Lyra. She smiled at him. Glad to see her friend. Do you think today will be about Earth again? She asked. Ben nodded. I think so. Everyone is still talking about it. As they entered, they saw some students looking at Ben, whispering. A few pointed at him and laughed. Lyra frowned, but Ben did not mind. He found his seat in the back. As usual, Kyle and Nash came over and sat close, their eyes bright with curiosity. Tell us about Earth, Kyle whispered. Is it really so scary? Ben smiled a little. It can be. But it's also beautiful. Mr. Dallin arrived, carrying a big box and a wide smile. Good morning, class. Today we will learn about how Earth monsters survive. Each one has a special way. Some are strong, some are smart, some work together. He set the box on the desk and pulled out animal models. Wolves, bears, snakes, and spiders, all from Earth. The class moved forward to look, their eyes wide with wonder and fear. Wolves work in packs, Mr. Dallin explained. Bears are strong and clever. Snakes hide and strike when you least expect it. Spiders build traps for their food. What do you think makes Earth monsters so special? Mia answered, They always find a way to survive. Mr. Dallin nodded. Yes, on Earth only the smartest and bravest survive. Kyle said, I would just fly away if I saw a monster. Ben shook his head. Sometimes running is not the answer. Sometimes you have to hide or think of a trick. Lyra listened closely. She liked hearing Ben talk about Earth. She could see he missed it, even if he never said so. Ben always watched and listened, like he was always ready for danger. Mr. Dallin turned on the holoscreen. They watched short films of explorers facing animals on Earth. One person climbed a tree to escape wolves. Another dived in a river to get away from a bear. The students watched with wide eyes. Humans must be brave, Mia said. Mr. Dallin agreed. Humans learn from a young age to survive. Their planet teaches them to be clever and strong. Many call humans Deathworlders because they come from a place where only the toughest survive. As the day went on, students ate lunch in the busy cafeteria. Ben and Lyra found a quiet corner. Lyra asked, "Do you ever miss Earth?" Ben nodded. Sometimes. The sky was wide and blue. There were birds and trees. It was dangerous but also beautiful. Lyra smiled. "Maybe I will see it one day." Just then, Kyle and Nash came over. "Do you know any tricks to fight monsters?" Nash asked. Ben shrugged. "Most times it's better not to fight. You use your mind. Find a safe place, stay calm, and look for a way out." Lyra listened carefully. She wondered if Ben ever had to use those tricks himself. She wanted to know more, but Ben never told stories about Earth unless someone asked. In the afternoon, Mr. Dallin said, "Today we will play a survival game. Each team must solve a problem like someone on Earth. You might need to escape danger, find water, or help a friend." The class broke into groups. Ben and Lara worked together. Their card said, "You are lost in a forest with a wild animal nearby. You have rope, a stick, and water. What do you do?" Lyra suggested, "Let's climb a tree with the rope." Ben said, "Maybe, but some animals can climb. We could also make noise to scare it or find a place to hide until it leaves." They worked together, talking quietly. Ben explained how sometimes you just need to wait and stay silent, letting the animal go away on its own. Lyra liked how calm he sounded. Other groups tried their own ideas. Some built shelters, others tried to run or fight. Some students laughed, some got frustrated when their plans did not work. When the game ended, Mr. Dallin asked what they learned. Ben answered quietly, "Sometimes the best thing is not to panic." Double quotes. Mr. Dallin smiled. "Very wise." The school bell rang and students packed up. Lyra walked beside Ben down the hall. "You really are different from everyone else," she said. "You think before you act. I like that." Ben smiled. "On Earth you have to—" Suddenly, loud sirens filled the academy. Red lights flashed. A voice came over the speakers. "All students, stay in your classrooms. There is a dangerous creature near the school. Do not leave your rooms." The class froze. Some screamed. Others ran to the walls. Mr. Dallin tried to calm everyone. "Close the doors. Stay away from the windows." Ben stood up. He took Lyra's hand and spoke softly. "Come with me." She did not argue. Ben led her and a few others to the corner of the classroom, away from the doors. He told them to stay low and quiet. Some students tried to argue, but Ben looked at them with calm, serious eyes. "Please trust me," he said. "I know what to do." As they waited, strange noises echoed in the halls. Something big was moving out there. The other students were scared, but Ben stayed calm. He listened for the sounds. He watched the teacher, who was now just as scared as the students. Nash whispered, "How do you know what to do?" Ben said softly, "On Earth you have to learn fast. If you panic, you make mistakes. Listen, wait, be ready." Lyra squeezed his hand. She trusted him completely now. Mr. Dallin looked at Ben and said, "You seem to know more than most. What should we do?" Ben looked around the room. He pointed to some chairs and told 2 students to stack them quietly against the door. He asked Lyra to close the window covers. "Block all the lights," he said. "Make the room dark. Don't make noise." Kyle and Nash did as he asked. For the first time, the class listened to Ben without making fun. The sirens kept blaring. The dangerous creature was getting closer. They could hear its heavy steps and strange growls. Ben whispered, "Stay together. If you hear the door open, don't move or scream." Lyra held Ben's hand tight. Everyone waited in the dark, hoping the monster would pass. Ben's eyes stayed sharp, listening for any sound. Deep inside, he remembered what his father taught him on Earth. Stay calm, watch, and wait for your chance to act. For the first time, the students truly saw Ben as more than a quiet boy. He was the only one who seemed ready. And as the threat got closer, the whole class realized they needed Ben more than ever before. The room stayed quiet and dark, every student holding their breath. Outside, the heavy steps moved closer, shaking the floor. Each growl made the younger students shiver and press together in fear. Mr. Dallin whispered, "Stay calm. Do not make a sound." But even he sounded nervous. Lyra kept her eyes on Ben, her hand tight in his. Ben listened for any change in the sound. He noticed the monster was not moving fast. It was sniffing as if searching for something. He motioned to the others to stay low. "It will look for movement," he whispered, so quiet only Lyra could hear him. "If we are very still, maybe it will think no one is here." Time moved slowly. Every sound in the hallway seemed louder than before. Suddenly, there was a sharp crash at the other end of the corridor. It sounded like the monster had knocked over a metal cart. Students in the other room screamed. The creature made a loud roar, angry and wild. Ben knew it was close, maybe just one room away now. Ben looked around for anything that could help them. He saw a stack of books and some cords near the back wall. His mind worked quickly. He whispered to Lyra, "If it comes inside, I need your help." Lyra nodded without fear. She trusted Ben completely now. The monster's heavy steps came closer, stopping right outside their door. All the students froze. The door handle rattled as if the creature tried to open it. Kyle squeezed his eyes shut, and Mia covered her mouth to stop from crying out. Ben held up his hand, signaling for silence. The door didn't open. Instead, the monster pushed against it, making the stacked chairs tremble. Ben knew the barrier would not last long. He moved slowly, crawling to the window and checking the cover Lyra had closed. He could see a shadow outside in the hallway. Huge shape, much bigger than any student. Ben whispered, "Get ready." He motioned to Lyra to grab the cords and asked Nash and Kyle to quietly pick up the heaviest books. The plan was simple. If the monster forced its way in, Ben would use the cords to trip it, and the others would throw the books to distract it, giving them a chance to escape to the back of the classroom. The door shook again. This time the top chair slid off. A low growl rumbled through the door, making everyone's skin crawl. Ben counted down with his fingers, 3, 2, 1. The door burst open, and the monster's shadow filled the room. It was unlike anything the students had seen before. It had tough gray skin, huge claws, and glowing yellow eyes. It sniffed the air, confused by the darkness. Ben waited until it stepped further inside, then gave the signal. Lyra threw the cord across its legs. Ben pulled tight, making the monster stumble forward. At the same moment, Nash and Kyle hurled the books at its head. One book hit the monster's nose and another hit its back. The creature roared, confused and angry, but it lost its balance and crashed into the teacher's desk. Ben yelled, "Everyone to the back wall." The students moved quickly, following his command. Lyra stayed with Ben as he checked the door. The monster struggled to get up, shaking off the cords. Ben knew they had only seconds. He pulled Lyra and the others through a small service door at the side of the classroom, which led to a maintenance hallway. He had noticed the door during lessons and always remembered the exits, just in case. They closed the door quietly behind them. In the dark hallway, they could hear the monster's roars from the classroom. Ben led the group further down the hallway, turning at every corner, listening for sounds of danger. "Move quietly. Stay close to the wall," he whispered. The students trusted Ben now. Even Mr. Dallin followed his lead, looking to him for direction. Ben found a storage room and guided everyone inside. It was small, but safe for now. He locked the door and listened. The monster was still angry, but it did not seem to be following them. Inside the storage room, everyone was breathing hard. Mia started to cry quietly, and Kyle tried to comfort her. Lyra hugged Ben. "How did you know what to do?" she asked. Ben looked down. "My dad taught me. On Earth, you always watch and remember exits. You think about what you have and how you can use it, and you never, ever panic." The group stayed in the room, waiting for things to calm down. Mr. Dallin used his communicator to call the security team, telling them their location. Ben listened to the halls, trying to guess if the monster had left the classroom or was still searching. He wished he could see through walls, but for now he had to trust his ears. After a while, the security team called back. "We are coming," the voice said. "Stay where you are. The creature is moving toward the lower levels. Do not try to leave." The students sat together, sharing stories and calming each other. Ben checked the small window in the door, but saw nothing. Lyra stayed close, always watching him. "I knew you were different," she said softly. "But now I see you are braver than anyone." Ben shook his head. "I just do what I can. On Earth, everyone learns to survive. You help your friends and think fast." Nash, who had teased Ben before, now looked at him with respect. "I'm glad you were here," he said. Kyle nodded. "Me too." When the security team finally arrived, they found the group safe in the storage room. The officers wore heavy armor and carried bright lights. They checked everyone, made sure no one was hurt, and thanked Ben for his quick thinking. "You saved your class," one of the officers said. "You stayed calm and kept everyone safe. You used what you had and did not panic. That is what real survivors do." Ben nodded quietly, feeling tired but proud. The officers led the students back to the main hall, where other students and teachers waited. Everyone stared as Ben walked in front, Lyra by his side. News of what happened spread quickly through the academy. Everyone wanted to know how the quiet boy from Earth had saved his friends. As the day ended, Ben sat outside with Lyra, looking at the stars through the big glass window. The academy was calm again, but the memory of the monster stayed with them. Lyra took Ben's hand. "You are not a monster, Ben. You are a hero." Ben smiled, thinking of home and of the lesson he had just taught his friends, that courage, calm, and kin. The storage room was small and dimly lit by a single emergency lamp. The students huddled together on the floor, their eyes wide and hearts racing. Ben sat near the door, listening to the faint growls echoing down the corridor. Lyra knelt beside him, gently squeezing his arm. She felt safe with him, leading the way. Mr. Dallin stood by the wall, his blue skin pale in the low light. He watched Ben with respect and gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered. Ben nodded but said nothing. He was focused on what would come next. After a few minutes, the sirens stopped. The red lights in the halls went dark. Silence filled the academy. The students held their breath, waiting for a sign. Then somewhere far away, they heard voices and footsteps. The security team was coming. Ben turned to the group. "Stay here until they call your names," he said softly. "When they open the door, walk out slowly. Follow them, not me. I will stay until everyone is safe." Mr. Dallin shook his head. "I cannot let you face what's out there alone. You saved everyone. You deserve to come too." Ben looked at Lyra's trusting face and felt a wave of protectiveness. "I have to make sure no one else is in danger. This creature might still be inside. If I leave now, it could hurt others." The teacher nodded, though worried. He used his communicator. "Security, please open the storage room door and evacuate all students. I will stay with the student until this creature is contained." On the other side of the door, Ben heard a click. The lock opened. He held back, letting Lyra and the others go first. One by one, students stepped out into the hallway, following the security officer's bright lights and firm voices. Lyra turned back and shouted, "Ben, come with us." Ben forced a smile. "Go now, I'll be okay." Lyra hesitated, then ran out, grabbing his hand and pulling him through the doorway. The group ran down the hallway. The creature's roars had faded, replaced by shouting and alarms. Reset for evacuation. Ben stayed close to Lyra as security led them to a safe area. He watched the rooms they passed, remembering every door and hiding spot. He saw traces of the creature's path, deep scratches on the walls, broken furniture, and scattered papers. At the safe area, students gathered with teachers. Mr. Dallin stood beside Ben, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Good work," he said quietly. Just then, the head of security, Captain Rowe, appeared. She was tall, with stern eyes and a steady voice. Ben, we need your help to trap the creature. You saw it up close. You know how it moves? Will you guide us? Ben looked at Lyra, who nodded encouragingly. He took a deep breath. Yes, I will help. Captain. Rowe smiled. Thank you. Please follow me. Ben and Captain Rowe gathered a small team of officers. They carried nets, tranquilizers, and sensor devices. Ben pointed to the path he remembered the creature took. It went down this hall, then turned left near the holodeck room. It will be tired after trying to get into classrooms. We can lure it into a trap there. The team moved quietly, guided by Ben. The corridors were empty now, lights dimmed for evacuation. At the corner, Ben paused. He could hear faint breathing and shuffling from the room ahead. Captain Rowe signaled the officers to prepare the net launcher. Ben took cover behind a corner. The creature's growl grew louder as it sensed movement. Suddenly, the beast burst into view, its glowing eyes scanning for prey. Ben held up his hand. Wait, Captain Rowe nodded. Ben stepped forward, calling softly, Hey, over here! The creature turned, surprised. Ben backed away slowly, leading it toward the trap. The officers followed, ready. When the beast reached the holodeck doorway, it hesitated. Ben whispered, Now! Officers fired the net launcher. The strong net flew out and wrapped around the creature's body. It roared and thrashed, but the net held tight. An officer moved forward with a tranquilizer gun and gave it a quick shot. The creature staggered, then fell to its knees. Ben and Captain Rowe approached carefully. The sensor devices confirmed it was unconscious. Well done, Ben, Captain Rowe said, smiling. You saved the academy. Ben nodded, relief washing over him. The officers secured the creature for transport to a medical bay. Mr. Dallin and Lyra met Ben at the holodeck entrance. Lyra hugged him. You did it? You saved us again? Ben smiled. We did it. He looked at the creature, peaceful on the floor. It's not evil. It was just scared. Mr. Dallin placed a hand on Ben's shoulder. You taught us more than any lesson. You showed us courage and kindness. He turned to Lyra. You've got a good friend in him. The academy principal, an older alien with silver hair and gentle eyes, arrived. She bowed to Ben. Brave human from Earth, you protected our students and our home. For your bravery and your heart, I offer you this medal. She held out a small, shining medallion. Ben accepted it, surprised. Thank you. The principal smiled. You remind us that the greatest survivors are those who protect others. Earth may be a death world, but it made you a hero. She held up the medal for all to see. Students and teachers cheered. Lyra stood beside Ben, proud and happy. That night, Ben and Lyra walked under the stars on the station's observatory deck. Ben held the medal in his hand. I never wanted praise, he said softly. I just wanted to keep everyone safe. Lyra took his hand. You earned it, and you taught us the true meaning of survival, helping friends, and staying calm. I will never forget what you did. Ben looked at the stars and thought of Earth, its forests, rivers, and storms. He smiled. Maybe one day you will visit, and you will see how beautiful it can be. Lyra nodded. I will. Together they stood beneath the glowing stars, two friends, bound by trust and courage, ready for whatever the universe would bring next. The next morning was calm. The stars glowed outside the classroom windows, and the students felt relief. After the creature was trapped, the academy returned to normal. But Ben and his friends knew things would never be the same. Mr. Dallin opened the classroom door and led the students in. He smiled at each one. Today we will finish our lesson on Earth monsters, but first I want to thank someone special. He pointed at Ben. Ben showed great courage and wisdom. He saved us all. Let's give him a big thanks. The class clapped and cheered. Ben looked down, feeling shy. Lyra smiled proudly beside him. Even Kyle and Nash gave him thumbs up. Ben nodded and returned to his seat. Mr. Dallin began the lesson. Earth monsters are not just creatures. They teach us lessons about life. Sometimes we fear what we do not know, but with courage and knowledge we can face our fears. He wrote the words on the board: courage, calm, kindness. He showed pictures of Earth's forests and deserts, rivers, and oceans. He spoke softly. Humans learned to survive in many places. They built shelters in cold lands, found water in deserts, and made boats on the ocean. They helped each other and used their minds. He looked at Ben. Ben's actions showed us all what it means to be a survivor. Lyra raised her hand. Mr. Dallin, will humans teach at our academy? Will Ben be our guide? Mr. Dallin smiled. I think Ben has already taught us enough. But if Ben wants to help more, he is welcome to share his knowledge. He turned to Ben. Would you like to lead our next lesson? Ben blinked. He never expected to teach in front of the class, but he looked at his friends, their trust in his eyes. He nodded. Double quotes. Yes, he said quietly. I would like to help. He stood and moved to the front of the class. The students watched in silence. Ben took a deep breath. He pointed to the board. Today I want to show you how to use simple tools to stay safe. First, you find a place with good cover. Then you listen for sounds. Always know where exits are. And if you work with friends, you can share ideas. He drew a simple map of the classroom with 3 exits. He marked hiding spots. As Ben spoke, the students listened closely. Ben felt his confidence grow. He imagined teaching on Earth, helping friends survive. Lyra watched him, impressed by his calm voice. When he finished, the class clapped again. Mr. Dallin nodded proudly. Ben, that was excellent. We will practice these skills in our next exercise. After class, students gathered around Ben. Mia asked, will you show me how to find cover? Ben showed her how to move quietly to a desk corner and stay low. Kyle asked for advice on using a stick as a tool. Ben demonstrated simple techniques. Soon, many students practiced with him. Lyra stayed close. She whispered, thank you for teaching us. You are brave and kind, Ben smiled. I just want to help. The day continued with more lessons and exercises. Ben guided teams through obstacle courses, teaching them to stay calm under pressure. He watched as students helped each other and grew more confident. By evening, the sun-like lights on the space station dimmed. The students gathered in the hall for a small celebration. Banners read, thank you, Ben. The academy principal stood beside Ben and Lyra. Ben, she said, you have shown us that survival is not just about strength. It is about courage, calm, and caring for others. You are always welcome here as our teacher and friend. She placed a special badge in Ben's hand, a symbol of honorary. Instructor. Ben accepted it, his heart warm. Lyra hugged him, her eyes shining. The students cheered. Ben felt proud and happy. That night, Ben and Lyra walked on the observation deck. The stars and planets looked close and bright. Ben held Lyra's hand. Thank you, he said. For everything, Lyra smiled. Thank you, Ben, for showing us what true courage is. I will never forget this. Ben looked at the stars and then at his friends and felt a deep sense of belonging. He thought of Earth, the lessons he learned there, and how those lessons had reached the stars. He knew he would always remember this academy, his friends, and the day he became more than a student, he became a teacher and a hero. And so, the academy's lesson on Deathworld monsters ended, but a new lesson began, a lesson of friendship, bravery, and hope, taught by a quiet human named Ben.